Well, welcome back. I'm certified nutritionist Mira Colton.
And I'm Dr. Jason Colton, and welcome to Colton Nutrition TV and our show In Depth, where we explore the stories behind the leaders, visionaries, and innovators changing the world. Now, today we're going to talk about emotional eating, and I think this is a topic that a lot of people really like to, they email us about all the time, and of course we talk a lot about the physical cravings for food, but there is also an emotional side to this, and we're going to go over that today. But before we do, we have some kind of exciting news at Colton Nutrition. Why don't you tell people about it?
Okay. Well, first of all, we launched a new product, Skinny Fat. I'm not sure how many of you have seen the website yet, but it's pretty exciting and pretty darn good looking, if I say so myself. So Skinny Fat is a fat that can be used to replace other fats that you're currently using in your kitchen. It's a fat that burns fat.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting, and also you'll be able to tune in. We have a lot of recipes coming up, so you'll be able to watch us using it in the kitchen in lots of different ways.
Yeah, it's basically a combination. We've been using this oil, or I've been using it in private practice for about 25 years, and it's a combination of MCT oil, which is a really unique oil. It doesn't have any real taste to it. It stays liquid, even in the refrigerator, and the great thing is it can't be stored as body fat.
Which is a huge, huge bonus.
It's huge, so you can have as much of it as you want. It gives you energy. It enhances your brain function. It speeds up your metabolism, but you can't store it as fat. And then what we did is we combined that with organic virgin coconut oil, which pretty much everybody knows the benefits of. And what do you get? You get a completely different oil that you can use in the kitchen.
It no longer tastes like coconut every time you make everything.
Yeah, so it's great. And it also helps to absorb the fat-soluble vitamins, which is the important thing for us. So we'll talk more about that on future shows, but we just wanted to bring that to you. If you haven't got a chance to look at it yet, go check it out on coltonnutrition.com
under the products
page. All right, so today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Tricia Greaves Nelson. She's an emotional eating expert who literally lost 50 pounds by identifying and addressing the underlying causes to her emotional eating. Now, she's worked with her husband, Roy Nelson, and have spent 25 years researching the hidden causes of the addictive personality.
And we love that there's another couple working together.
Yeah.
We think that's fantastic.
Yeah, we think that's amazing. And they've written and they've spoken about it across the world. Now, she's been seen on NBC, CBS, Fox, Discovery Health, and she's a certified coach and the co-author of 101 Great Ways to Improve Your Health. Welcome to In Depth, Tricia.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you on because really what you do is so, is so unique, and I just know that you're such a kind, warm-spirited person. You've helped so many with your insight. But let's go back a little bit and get to how you started to learn about all of this. Like, what's your personal story regarding food and your weight issues? Not sure if we lost connection.
And of course, it didn't seem like an issue with food. It was really that I loved food and I loved to eat. And I loved to cook, and everything was all about food. When my family would be going out to dinner, it's like I'd probably have like heart palpitations all day, like all excited about eating out, and so it was always just a big exciting highlight for me. And so I basically had some baby fat on me. I was chubby. My mother called it baby fat actually, and she wasn't very concerned about it, but as I got older, I'd show her these rolls on my tummy. I'd say, Mom, what's up with, this fat on my body? She's like, oh, it's baby fat. And, by the time you're 12, you're like, Mom, it's not baby fat. So, it was a problem. And not only, did I eat a lot, I ate a lot and what felt like all the time. But I also was very unhappy about it. Some people eat a lot and it doesn't concern them. They like food and that's it, and they live with the consequences. But I think I was either cursed or blessed with feeling so unhappy with being overweight. And I'd hold these I had this belly, and I would hold it in my hands, and I would I'd think, how do I get rid of this thing? And I would think about slicing it off. How gross is that? But I literally would, how when you have a steak and there's like fat on the side of the steak and you can kind of slice that off. I'm like, well, this is fat. I could just slice it off. It wouldn't be a problem.
Just trim the fat off.
Yeah, you know, and then I would think about like wanting to join the army because they'd make me in boot camp, they'd make me run, and of course the last thing I ever wanted to do was exercise. Or maybe I'd get a disease and I'd, you know, I'd just automatically lose weight. So this is like where my head would go. Never mind not overeating. Like that was not part of the equation. So, you know, because basically I had to have the food. And I mean, I required, like, whatever amount of food I ate, it didn't seem like overeating. It's like I had this voracious appetite, and it was like I had to eat that food. And so it was just like, what do I do about this weight on my body? So it was a very miserable experience for me, and I was very unhappy about my weight. It certainly affected my self-esteem. It affected everything, you know, my choices, you know, whether I'd hang out with friends. I thought I was the fattest of all my friends, and, you know, what boys I would like, you know, who would like me back. I mean, I was fat, so it really colored my entire reality, and which is sad, of course. And so through high school, I did lots of diets and exercise programs, and, you know, nothing worked for me. I mean, I'd lose a little bit of weight sometimes when I was really, you know, being good, but I'd always put the weight back on, and it just, I was really like a yo-yoer, basically, is I guess what you would call me. Definitely a binge eater. I mean, my binges were horrific, late at night, or, you know, in front of the TV with a vat of popcorn and a gallon of ice cream. I mean, it was sick, really. So anyway, so I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get out of the cycle. I did lots of, like, I started looking for answers in self-help books and different programs. And by the age 21, basically, guys, I felt like I had tried lots of things. Like, I felt very hopeless. I went to 12-step programs. I mean, I was really, you know, on this search for answers, and nothing was working for me. And I just, you know, I thought to myself, I can't live the rest of my life this way. I mean, I've got, you know, I'm hopefully going to have a long life. I can't be going up and down, you know, successes and defeats over and over again. And so it was at that point of despair that I was introduced to Roy Nelson, and he is, I like to call him a spiritual healer. He doesn't exactly call himself that, but what he did for me and what I had seen him do for other people is that he helped me realize that my problem really wasn't about food. You know, that, I mean, it seemed like it was about food when I was fighting with it, but it was really a lot deeper than that, and that it was an emotional, you know, issue for me. And so that's where we started focusing attention, and everything turned around for me when he showed me this path to be able to identify and heal the underlying causes. So that's how it got started. That was a long time ago, you know, and so today, I mean, he is my husband today. After that, I just hooked my wagon up to his, and, you know, we've been together ever since, and helping others. So I so relate to you guys, because that was our story too. So anyway, it's been an amazing journey of helping others to have the success. I mean, he had been morbidly obese himself, and so he lost over 120 pounds, and, you know, through this method, we call it the Nelson method. So we just, you know, are helping other people walk through this and break free from not only the food issue, but lots of other addictions as well, because it's, you know, the symptom, whatever it is you're struggling with, isn't really the issue. It's what's underneath, and that's really where we like to go with people.
Right. It sounds to me like, you know, so many people watching right now probably are going through something very similar. You know, people are out there, they're like, you know, I've got this weight to lose, but I can't stop eating. And so I think they can relate with you. One of the things that kind of shocked me is we went to your website, and you've got some photos of yourself there, you know, where you did weigh quite a bit more, probably 50 pounds more, and we've only known you as you are now, but I think it's great to be able to see that, you know, you've really gone through what so many people out there are suffering from, and I think what you have to offer now, and what we're going to talk about next, is really what a lot of people are searching for. They think to themselves, well, you know, like you said, the exercise is the last thing on their mind as far as trying to get that fat off. Why do I eat so much food? They think that they can't change that habit. But of course, you and I both know that they can. Let's talk a little bit about why some of the options that you tried didn't work for you. Let's go into that.
Well, you know, everything that I did try, I mean, I did some things. Basically, there's kind of a spectrum of things anybody can try. Some are like entirely physical, right? You know, you lessen the amount of calories you're eating, or you go on an extreme exercise program. And look at Biggest Loser. I mean, they're doing like heavy duty exercise and, you know, diet, alterations. But at the end of the day, you know, most of the people who go on these extreme things that are physical only, they do put the weight back on. I mean, you guys know that more than anybody, I'm sure.
Believers in that kind of thing, you know, that's just not the way to get there at the end of the day.
Exactly, and the reason why that doesn't work for people who don't know is that the weight, I'll talk about myself, the weight that was on my body was a manifestation. I mean, it was basically, I was overweight because I was overeating. You know, let's keep it real simple. I was eating more food than I could possibly, you know, exercise away. And so, you know, and people always think exercise is their solution. Not that exercise is bad. Of course, it's a wonderful thing for our bodies. But if you're putting in more calories than you're exercising away, you're gonna gain weight. You know, so for me, it was more how much food I was eating was really the problem, because there was not enough hours in the day to ever exercise away what I would eat.
Right.
So,
and the wrong type of food as well.
Oh, well, of course. You know, like who wants to binge on salad? I mean, so
broccoli binges going on around town.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's be clear. Sugar, starch, and fat, like those are my food groups. So, so basically, you know, the physical, people are always, I mean, when the symptom is physical and you've got all this fat on your body, you just want to get rid of the fat. It's like, get this off my body. And so, of course, attacking the physical seems like the right thing to do. But in my experience, the physical is a symptom of the emotional. I mean, why, let's look back, why was I eating so much? Why was I stuffing my face? Why was I at night, you know, eating till it hurt, you know? I mean, people don't really think about it. I really thought, I was very deluded. I thought, oh, I just love food. I'm an emotional eater. I just like food, you know? Well, great. Do you like it to the point where you hurt yourself, to where your pants don't fit, to where you have zits on your face, to where you cancel your social engagements because you can't bear to see anybody? Like, is that really fun? You know, I would always think when I'd sit down with a pan of brownies and a gallon of ice cream at night watching TV, I think I was treating myself, right? Like, oh, this is a treat. Like after a long week of work, this is a treat, and we think of it that way. But when you think about the aftermath, I mean, the aftermath is pure hell, right? Sure. So, you know, and I was doing those things. I was treating myself and enduring the hell, and so it's, you know, there was a reason why I was hurting myself, and there's three things that that Roy and I have kind of we call it the PEP test, and these are the three underlying causes, or at least what's driving it, you know, just to kind of dig into a little bit. So okay. One is...
people aren't overeating because they're hungry a lot of the time. You're saying that there's basically underlying causes and that we have these subconscious reasons for actually putting the food into our mouths, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So you defined three of these. Let's go over that.
So basically, to make it simple, I mean, these are simplified, but this is just so people can start thinking about it a little bit. P stands for painkiller, okay? And anybody who's binging, in my experience, and once in a while you eat, you know, a really yummy meal and extra tiramisu, then that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm talking about, you know, people who are really chronically overeating and binging. I mean, I used food as a painkiller, which means I was killing some kind of emotions that felt painful to me, okay? Like basically I was numbing out. E stands for escape, so I would use food as an escape, basically because I had a lot of fear. I mean, typically people who have, in my experience, emotional eaters have a tremendous amount of fear. Like we're more afraid than your average person. So that the escape of food just kind of, it's sort of like, I don't think you guys are old enough to remember the maybe you are, the Calgon commercials, like Calgon.
Take me away.
Yeah, okay.
We're old enough. We're old enough.
Yeah, so that's like what the brownies are for. Like they're my little escape from things in life that seem too hard to deal with. Basically.
And that's what people are eating, and they're not even like paying attention to the fact that there's actually something going on. They're putting food in, yeah, it's just that mindlessness.
Absolutely.
Zombing out to, you know, popcorn or something.
Yeah, and that's why, and that's what in a lot of, you know, in my experience, most of the time cravings are, if they're not the physical, you know, nutritional, they are, you know, literally cravings to numb out, cravings to get away. But they feel like food cravings. Like they you know, it's tricky because it seems like, no, I'm really craving chocolate right now. Well, you're probably craving the escape or the painkiller effect that chocolate gives you, and that's what I myself. Yeah, and so, and the P, just to finish off, the last P is punishment. Okay, so again, next day when my pants don't fit and I cancel my, you know, my outing with my girlfriends, that's, you know, that's a form of punishment that I'm inflicting on myself, which means that there's some kind of guilt and some kind of, there's conflict inside myself that I'm basically punishing myself for, and that's the one that people really don't, like, are totally unaware of. It's like, punishment, why am I punishing myself? Well, that's what we need to dig into, because, you know, if you look at the way I lived and the way I treated my body, that is definitely a form of punishment, and it definitely came from, you know, a feeling of worthlessness, like I don't matter, you know, like what's it matter anyway? I mean, a very low self-esteem, and so the way I would treat my body, and it wasn't just with food. I mean, look at what people do in extreme exercise to try to overcome the food binges. You know, I mean, that is, you know, they run until their knees, you know, they have no more cartilage in their knees. I mean, it's like things that people do, you know, it is definitely a form of punishment, and unless somebody starts addressing like how one feels about oneself, that they would do such a thing to themselves, right, the pattern will definitely repeat.
Right. And this is really a multifaceted problem. I mean, you've just identified 3 emotional reasons why we eat. We're looking at the painkiller, the escape, and the punishment. And then, of course, we've got these big food manufacturers, and they realize that sugar is addictive. They've got all these other addictive ingredients. They process the food so that we end up eating naked calories. So as we go through these things, we're eating these processed foods. We're not getting enough of the vital micronutrients. We're taking in these addictive ingredients, and then it makes it so we're almost locked into these snack foods after a while. Not only are we doing it for those 3 exact reasons that you just mentioned, but then we've got the physicality side to it. We are actually addicted to these ingredients, and we've got these food cravings. Let's talk a little bit about that and what's happening here in our country. How do we get over this part of it?
Well, it's so true. I mean, again, like I said, sugar, starch, and fat, those are the things I would binge on. And then, of course, you know, when you binge on it and your body has it in its system, it's hooked. I mean, completely hooked. And I, for one, am a complete sugar addict. So sugar, if I eat sugar, it will create, like, it sets up a craving. And then, you know, it's, of course, there's an emotional craving because I want to be numb. I want to keep being numb. You know, once you sort of numb out, you don't really want to wake up and come back to reality. So you got to keep the ball rolling. But definitely, I so believe in the physical addiction of the things that people are, you know, that they're putting in foods now. I mean, every form of sugar is in every form of food now, because why? It tastes good, and we keep coming back for more, you know. And so I know for myself, I've completely been addicted to sugar, and I mean, it's just, honestly, it's just as bad as alcohol for the alcoholic, and people don't realize that. I mean, honestly, alcohol is, you know, the most refined form of sugar there is. So they're very much correlated. And so I know for myself that, you know, any diet I would go on, you know, especially like I'd eat, let's say, the diet food, you know, from Nutrisystem or Weight Watchers. Well, if you look at the ingredients, you guys know, but if you look at the ingredients, there's all kinds of sugar in there and addictive substances. And so it's like you think you're dieting, you think you're being good, but all you're doing is just putting a needle in your arm, you know, metaphorically, and you're basically getting yourself set up to need more and more. I mean, I don't know how people could ever eat just one of the dessert items on like a Weight Watchers dessert pack. Like those are all I would eat. You know, I wouldn't eat the chicken and broccoli.
I'm not Weight Watchers, but the dessert portion of it.
Right.
They've proven that it's more addictive than cocaine. The sugar is. Yeah. So it's like getting your next fix as an addict. It's the same exact thing. It lights up those parts of your brain that tells you immediately afterwards, I need more. I need more.
And it's really funny when when they they do the studies of the mice and they're trying to figure out if this is addictive. I mean, the mice have like they have withdrawal symptoms. I mean, all the classical addictive symptoms: withdrawal, craving. I mean, they get this. The one I love when I read about this originally is they get anticipatory excitement when they're about to be fed their sugar again. I'm like, oh my God, I know about that,
Yeah. No, there's no doubt sugar is so addictive, and if people want to see how addictive sugar really is, if you work at a place where people have sugar and you have kind of a community kitchen, just hide the sugar sometime. You'll see how fast people, where is that sugar? They first they'll ask the question, and then they become concerned, like, where's the sugar? And then they become angry, like, where's the sugar?
Yeah.
So it really is. It's just like a regular drug. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about, you have some, you talk about ways to quit the sugar craving. Obviously, just going cold turkey is one way, but you have some other ways as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have a program called Sweet Seduction, How to Say No to Sugar Cravings and Still Love Your Food, because people are afraid that if they quit sugar, they're just going to be eating broccoli and chicken, and it's not true. Like, there's a lot more that they can eat, and really enjoy your food. And especially nowadays, I mean, I'm grateful, even though they've come up with like 20 million more forms of sugar, to sneak into your food. At the same time, they've also discovered, we've discovered natural ways to sweeten our food without having to, to ingest sugar. So it's really important that people. At first, I mean, I call it the 3 Ds. Like, people need to detect. Like, they first need to detect, learn about what sugar, like all the different names for sugars, and detect the sugars in their program, whatever they're eating in their products. They need to then detox. And there is a way to detox where you're not climbing the walls. And then the last D I call is delish. They need to find different recipes and things that really make their food, great and totally. I eat sugar-free every day, and I love my food. Great food, great, sweetness. Your guys' product, I love your nutrients. I have it right here, actually.
Yeah.
So it's sweet. It's sweetened with stevia, my favorite product of all time. So, to me, stevia is God's gift to the sugar addict, really. So,
Ex-sugar addict over here, and a big fan of stevia as well. And I think that your 3 steps are fantastic because it really does take all 3. You have to learn to read the ingredients lists, which is why we wrote Rich Food, Poor Food, so that people would understand all those different words as well for sugar and where all the places it's hiding.
Yep.
And then you also have to detox, get it out, and that can be hard for some people. They get that carb flu that everyone says, and that crazy insanity, and then put it back in. And I love the fact that you're giving people really healthy ways to still have that flavor sensation, but without the actual awful sugar.
Right. Now, if people don't know for whatever reason, Rich Food, Poor Food is a shopping guide. We take you through every aisle in the grocery store, and it's sugar-free.
Yeah. It's
sugar-free, it's gluten-free, it's GMO-free, all those things you don't want to have in your cart, but it's extremely helpful for people who are trying to get rid of sugar, because we still have ice cream in there, we still have chocolate bars in there, we still have snacks in there. And of course, it is not impossible to have great food and be sugar-free. So if people are looking for a way to actually find these foods, Rich Food, Poor Food would be a way to do that.
Now, how exactly does your program work? Is it one-on-one counseling? Is it an online program?
It's actually a program that is online, and it's through recordings that I've done. I taught a live class and I recorded the whole thing, but there's still a live element. They get 7 recordings, and the recordings are of a live class where we recorded live class where I'm talking to actual sugar addicts. And so, which to me is the best part, because just learning the facts about sugar, it's a little dry, not very tasty, if you will. So So basically, when they're hearing the actual experiences from sugar addicts, you know, to me, again, this comes back to the emotional part. I mean, one of the reasons why we do, you know, people get hooked on sugar is it is filling an emotional void. I mean, it's really, we use it to comfort ourselves and kind of sort of like a companion. I mean, food was total companion for me. So what these calls do is they're helping people identify with other sugar addicts, which is so important. So the calls go through all the steps. There's actually one more D. So I take them through all the 4 Ds, and then I have some guests on there. One chef who teaches all gluten-free, sugar-free, cooking. I have a whole class. One of the classes is on emotional eating. It's specifically about emotional eating. People tend to love that class the most because that's what people don't get enough of. They get like loads of nutritional information, but not about the emotional eating. And so I go into that, and I walk people through, you know, identifying the different sugars, then cleaning out their cupboards, you know, replacing it with better food. So I really walk them step by step, and then everybody's a part of this is the live portion, they're part of our Facebook group. We have a private Sweet Seduction Facebook group, and so everybody can chat with each other and talk about the different sugars they're letting go of, and, you know, maybe if they're feeling a little, you know, antsy one day, they can, you know, post it on there and get support from everybody else. So it's sort of got that live and, you know, online aspect to it. But it's a great program. People do get off of sugar like within a couple or 3 weeks after going through the program, and they love it, and they're happy about it. I mean, they're thrilled. So it's a neat program. I
think it's fantastic. And you do mention that you use nutrients in the program, correct?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, we added that after I got a hold of your guys' I had some other nutritional supplements that I would recommend, but then when I got a hold of nutrients, I'm like, oh my God, this is the best. I love it so much, and I love promoting it to people because, you know, typically emotional eaters, because we kind of have lacked that ability to care for ourselves, we've been in that self-abuse mode or self-neglect mode for so long. You know, telling people to take vitamins, I mean, it's really, it doesn't compute for a lot of people because they're not in that mode of really caring for themselves. Like it's an upward battle to do good things for themselves. But if you can create a vitamin that tastes totally delicious and you actually look forward to drinking, oh my God! And then you're getting your vitamins. It's like, I mean, it's like flavored, you know, cough syrup for little kid. You know, it's really, it makes it so much easier. So I look forward to taking my nutrients, and I mean, it's really, I made this before I got on the call with you guys, and normally this is gone in like 5 minutes. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna, if I drink it all, I can't show it to you. So, I'm like,
oh, you had to hold on.
I'm training myself here.
Had mine this morning.
Yep.
As did you. Now, you also have another thing that you're going to offer to our little tribe, our little community for free, which is part of the program that you said people like most, which is one thing that we think is so important that you're doing and that you're giving people, which is that insight into the emotional eating. And you have some free videos you're going to offer people? Yes?
I just lost you for a second. Did you lose me?
I know.
Got you back.
Got you back. So you're going to do some free videos for our tribe.
Yes.
Eating as well?
Oh my goodness, yes. I've created 20 videos that are all covering all different aspects of emotional eating. It's really for the emotional eater experience because there's so many different things that we struggle with. I mean, emotional eaters, like, what do you do at the buffet when you go to a restaurant and there's a buffet? You know, it seems like it says all you can eat, so like you should eat it all, right? So we cover a lot of just all the, you know, what do I do about my husband when he's bringing home, you know, cookies every night and he knows I'm trying to not eat sugar? You know, what do I do about my kids who are overweight? So there's lots of different, you know, subtle aspects of the emotional eater experience that I cover in these videos, and they're entirely free. And then I also have a quiz. When somebody registers for the videos, they'll also get a quiz which will tell them whether they're an emotional eater or a food addict. So it's kind of a spectrum. It's all one spectrum, and they kind of see where they are on that spectrum.
Now, I do want to ask you, what do you say when somebody, because we get this question all the time, I'd love to ask you this. What do you do about the person who is trying to diet and their spouse just keeps sabotaging them?
Oh, it's so annoying, and it's so common. And the reason why it's so common is that, if somebody, there's a whole dynamic going on, right? If somebody's constantly struggling with their weight, they're constantly, in the dumps, or they're on this terrible roller coaster of weight loss and gain, and they're the family, whether it's just a spouse or the whole family, they get used to that person being in that struggle, and so there's emotional ways that they compensate for that, and they sort of, like, they're the helper, and the struggling person is like the victim who needs rescuing, right?
Yeah.
Now, if the victim starts getting better and stronger and doing good things for herself, that changes the emotional dynamic of the relationship, and that person, the other person, no longer has their role to play. And so if there's all that emotional stuff where they're, they don't consciously want to sabotage. I mean, maybe once in a while they do, but generally it's very much a subtle thing, a subconscious thing where they want their role back. They want to be the helper in this relationship. And if that person gets strong and takes care of themselves, who am I? What am I to do? But there's also, people, I mean, at the workplace, I mean, there's all that, like little catty stuff, like, oh, she's losing weight, well, what does that mean for me? If she loses weight, I was always thinner than her. If she gets thinner than me, I'm going to stand out. I mean, it's crazy. Emotions are crazy, and I don't think we pay enough attention to that, the power of what's going underneath the surface. So the sabotaging is huge. And one thing that I do recommend to people, at least off the, right initially, is don't announce you're on a diet. I mean, some people that say announce it, then you'll be more accountable, but it triggers craziness in other people, a competitiveness and envy and all kind of stuff, and it's like, and we typically, when we are on diets, emotional eaters love to announce it, like, especially if they start losing the weight, they get kind of cocky about it, then, so that's the worst thing you could do, because you'll sabotage yourself. If you end up being cocky, you'll bring yourself down. So, to me, make it a very personal thing. I mean, talk to the people who can support you, talk about it, with your tribe, get support from people who understand, but for those who really don't understand, to me, keep it to yourself. Make it a quiet journey. Keep it to you, and you and God and a few other people who understand, basically.
I think that's a really valuable nugget of information, because you're right. And not only do people start to get a little bit competitive when you announce you're going on a diet, they feel scared. Your mate, even at home, your significant other. Here you go. You're going to go on this diet. You're not bringing these sugar foods in. So there's a fear too that, hey, you're going to want me to change. Now I'm not going to get the sugar that I want. I haven't made this decision yet. So I better do something about that before it's too late for me, and I'm not going to get the sugar anymore. So I think it's really important. And if you are watching this right now and you find yourself having these emotional problems with food cravings, or even if you know somebody who is, I think these 20 videos that we're going to be offering, the link's going to be right below this video. Definitely go and get it. Take some time and really look at the food from an emotional perspective. Of course, we talk a lot here at Cult Nutrition about fixing the calcium and the magnesium deficiencies and getting rid of the cravings, but there's still that emotional healing that has to take place, and we're still going to have to change our overall
mental
habits.
Aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. So
absolutely. That's great.
Well, this is just fascinating. I mean, really and truly, I think it's something that everybody can use. Thank you so much for being on In Depth here today with us, Tricia. Do you have anything that you want to say before you leave? Let's give a website so people can find you as well.
Yeah, well, people, definitely do go to the link, below, or if we have a couple links there for this week's production and the free videos. But you can go to healyourhunger.com also. I just don't want to give too many things to go to. So definitely do the free videos, and that's the best thing you could possibly do. But it's and I just want to encourage people. I mean, definitely, I think the #1 piece of advice I could give is to not try to do this alone. It is impossible to do this alone. It's too much of an uphill battle. So definitely get support. Again, from people who are going through the same process. You know, that's been my experience, is I couldn't do it alone, and everybody, you know, that we help, we give them a lot of support, because nobody can do it alone. It's just it is really too much. So.
And that's why your Facebook page is so fantastic. Once people go through the program, they can go to your Facebook page. They can really talk to other people who are in the same situation and who have gotten beyond that situation, who now have some feedback to give them as well. So
Absolutely.
we thank you so much for the work that you're doing, because it really is changing people's lives and making them be in control of their own food for the first time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's great to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you, Tricia. And thank you to everybody who's watching. Make sure that you join us again next time on In Depth here on Carlton Nutrition TV. Until then, see you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.